a technologist and developer. But for those of you that don't know us, I'll share a little bit of background so you at least sort of get grounded in who we are. Okay, so and obviously I'm here to talk to you about community. We're the world's largest software developer community with over 100 million users, as Terence mentioned.
We're going to talk about strong communities. We're here with the CEO of Stackflow. How do I pronounce your name?
It's Prashant Chandrasekhar, yeah.
Are you also the founder of the Stackflow community?
I'm not the founder of Stack Overflow. I was appointed as the CEO of Stack Overflow in 2019. So I've been in role for about 3 years. Yeah.
Could we define it as a open public platform Q&A utility?
You got it, yeah, it's a pretty good description. We are the world's largest community and public platform for software developers. We have close to about 100 million monthly visitors. And it's a Q&A platform of all sorts of knowledge, 50 million questions and answers on every possible technology topic.
50 million?
50 million
per day?
No, 50 million questions and answers in the knowledge base that's accessed by about 100 million monthly visitors.
What is the main difference between a community like Facebook or Reddit and your community?
Yeah, so I think Facebook and Reddit are more, I would characterize Facebook as a social network, right? We are very much a knowledge base, so we're very much an objective knowledge base versus people's opinions. So we're really interested in making sure that software developers technologists get the answers to their very specific questions, and they're, as a result, really, really productive because the community has curated and ultimately approved of the top answer to a very specific question, and that is utilized in a very specific way by those developers or technologists. And so there's a big difference. Social networks are subjective, Stack Overflow is very objective.
There's a huge amount of Q&A communities. How do you engage with the customers to create real strong communities?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about, we do this on the inside companies, and we do this obviously with our Stack Overflow for Teams SaaS product. So we help build internal technology communities within companies. And then of course our public platform's been around for over a decade, where we have really, we've leveraged about 5 tenets to make sure that happens well. So it's all about a shared sense of identity. It's about making sure there's a great incentive system, making sure that there's a real sort of making sure that your barriers across different silos have been sort of reduced, and you're really making sure that you're building with the community versus for the community. And finally, of course, you're creating these sort of virtuous cycles to make sure that they are sort of going faster and faster, and that's how we've been able to get to where we are.
So it is about engagement?
Very much about engagement. Yeah, it's about making sure that, but engagement in the context of getting the right answer to the right question, right? It's less about making sure people are sticking around on the website. It's more about making sure that when they have a question, and all learning starts with the question, as we like to say, people find the answer on Stack Overflow. And that's our goal, to get them the answer, and so that they are off and running and more productive every day. Yeah.
Right. But what is the link and relationship between a strong brand and a strong community?
Yeah, great question. So we started as a very strong community, and then we established a brand as a result. And only after that, we've sort of been on more of a product journey. And I think the linkage is that I think a great community, once you build it, which is not easy to do, can be a very sort of a great brand for you, because every technologist at this conference knows Stack Overflow as a result of that, because the fundamental reason why they've come together, shared knowledge, and really sort of helped each other out in their sort of 3 a.m. debugging sessions, that goes a long way to creating sort of an emotional connection to each other. So that connection ultimately brings people together, and that creates the brand.
Do you consider the heavy users also as personal brands?
Yeah, some of those users absolutely have personal brands as a result of being extremely rewarded members of Stack Overflow. So I use that example in my talk of John Skeet, who's here, and I was talking to him earlier, and he's one of he's been around since the beginning of Stack Overflow, and he has one of our biggest reputations at Stack Overflow, and everybody in the world knows it, not only because of Stack Overflow, but also his work at Google, but it's all, it's part of the same, he's been known in the ecosystem as a result of all his great contributions at Stack Overflow, at least partially known because of us. So.
All right, final and perhaps strange question. Is it possible to transform your community to a virtual reality metaverse community, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I think there's definitely a world happening, and I didn't, our upcoming developer survey, which we release every year. We close to about 100,000 people in our community respond to that, right, every year. So in there, we actually talk a lot about things like blockchain, and we've done several pulse surveys on this subject about blockchain and crypto and Web3 and metaverse. And in general, we believe there's, I think there's a tremendous interest. So the blockchain number of questions on Stack Overflow for blockchain went up about 80% year over year for the past 10 years. Right, since 2010, so even more than 10 years. So it's been on a very, very steep rise. So people are learning how to create these applications, obviously trying to find problems that you can really solve with these technologies. And as the ecosystem builds together, I think there's an opportunity for us to play a role there to make sure that, because the building blocks are all the same, the Python programming languages, the JavaScript, the Dockers, all of that is still foundational to whether it's a blockchain app or a non-blockchain app. So in that context, and just more broadly, the ecosystem of the metaverse and Web3 and so on, we will absolutely play a foundational role as part of that.
Thank you very much. StackOverflow.com.